Okay, everyone, welcome to chapter 1. I'm not thrilled with PowerPoint, but what I have found in the classroom is I can be scattered because one idea leads to another very quickly in my brain, and so the PowerPoint helps to keep me a little bit honest. The PowerPoints are no substitute for reading the text. This is an excellent textbook. I've looked at lots of books dealing with interpersonal communication, and this is really good. It's very similar to one that's used in other classes, but it's a good $30 cheaper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these recordings into approximately chunks that are 10 minutes long, sometimes a little bit longer, because I figured you have about a 10 to 15 minute attention span before you have to go, before you don't pay attention very well. So every chapter in the textbook is divided into approximately 4 or 5 sections. And this textbook uses color very well. They use a lot of pictures, and I know that frequently students opt to skip information that's not in the regular text. So there are a lot of text boxes, and I encourage you to pay attention to them because there is a lot of information that will really deepen your understanding of this topic. So chapter 1 is interpersonal process. So let's look at I'm in the I'm in the wrong view. Okay, we're gonna do, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. So the first question, sometimes people say, well, why do I need to study communication? I've been communicating my entire life. And there's definitely some validity to that question, but think about this. It's always a good idea to kind of take a step back and look at something that you take for granted, because it can help you see things with new eyes. And also, excuse me, one of the things that we're going to work on through this class is helping you become the best communicator that you can be. Not a perfect communicator, but you all probably have areas of your life where you feel you're not as effective as you can be. So we're going to look at various theories, and then we're going to look at exercises that you can do so you can improve your communication excellence. Okay, so basically that's why we study communication. Now let's take a look at the real first section is, well, why do we communicate? And there are 4 basic human needs that communication helps us accomplish. So the first one is physical needs. And I think there's a picture of Scott Kelly, who was an astronaut. This has nothing to do with communication, but I thought I would share this. He has an identical twin brother, Mark Kelly. And after Scott Kelly was in space for a certain amount of time, when he came back, he and his identical twin are no longer genetically identical. Isn't that like blows my mind? Okay, but anyways, let's get to look at this idea of communication. So when we say physical needs, human beings need communication to be physically healthy. And if you think about it, one of the things that we do to punish people is we withdraw our communication from them. As a kid, did you ever play the game where there's someone you didn't like, and so you just ignored them? You're not going to talk to them at that point. I remember doing that with my little sister. We actually would just move our mouths but not say anything. We were, pardon my language, we were little shits. So I hope I have learned since then. In prisons, if someone has done something that's considered really terrible, they're put in solitary confinement. A lot of prisoners of war were cut off from their fellow prisoners of war. So here's some information from the text that I think is really interesting. So there was a meta-analysis, meaning the people who did this analysis, looked at 150 different studies that involved a total of 300,000 participants. I would say this is a statistically significant number of people, and they found that people who were socially connected, who had a strong network of family and friends, lived an average of 3.7 years longer. Right? So we need other people to be healthy. And also, divorced, separated, or widowed people are 5 to 10 times more likely to need hospitalization. In fact, frequently they find that if an elderly couple that's been married for many years, when one member of the couple, one person dies, it is very frequent for the other person to die within the year. It doesn't always happen, but it can. Okay. The second one, identity needs. This one, we use communication to figure out who we are, and this is the topic of chapter 3. Here's a little preview. If you grew up, I don't know how this would happen, but you're on an island. You are the only person on an island. Okay, so you have no contact with other people. How would you know if you were tall or short? How would you know if you were funny or sarcastic or sensitive? It's our interactions with other people that clue us into who we are as people. All right. The next one, the social needs. Human beings are social animals. This really ties in a lot, I think, to the two previous ones, the physical needs and the identity needs. But the idea is we if we were unable to communicate, we would not have social interactions. Now, when I say communicate, I don't mean speak. Definitely speech is part of it, but people who are deaf can communicate with other people. Even people who have limited communication are still able to have social interactions. But, think about people who are severe, who, I'm trying to use the correct terminology, who are autistic and to the point where they have absolutely no language. They can't communicate with other people. These are the people who even, if somebody touches them, they would flinch. So that those social needs that can't be met. All right, and then the last one is the practical needs. Like you say to someone, could you please turn the lights off? Today I'm cold. Could you shut the window? If we couldn't, there are some things that we can achieve without a lot of communication, but for most of it, we really, our practical needs are met via communication, speech, text, Twitter, whatever. Okay. There is, of course, a dark side to this idea of the social needs. I'm drinking coffee, so if you hear me slurping, that's what it is. So there's a text box on page 7. Every chapter has something called the dark side of communication. And so this one has to do with loneliness and the internet and what is the balance. So you've probably noticed this during this shelter at home. If you connect with other people online, you can feel less lonely. I mean, it's not a perfect substitute, but it can help. However, there's a correlation between loneliness and what social scientists call a preference for online social interaction. So research shows that lonely people prefer to interact with others online, which can lead to problematic internet use, which can generate a greater sense of loneliness. So you're shy, you're lonely, you don't really know how to interact with people, so you don't go out and interact face to face. You use the internet, which makes it easier to connect with people on the internet, which makes it harder to connect with people face to face, which makes you feel more lonely. So there's a real dark side to the use of the internet. Excuse me. And this is a text box that's on page 9. There's always an at work section in every chapter. your communication skills, our communication skills are absolutely crucial in finding a job, and I would also say in holding on to the job. When they when they survey supervisors, so many of them say that we want to hire people who have good spoken communication and good written communication. Many years ago, in the late 80s, early 90s in Connecticut, there was a lot of money in workforce development, and I went into many companies to get to hold classes, and it was all about communication, improving people's English skills or teamwork skills. So you're not going to advance in a company unless you have good interpersonal communication. And I'm talking, I cannot think of a career in which you do not need good communication. If anyone can think of one where it doesn't matter if you are able to effectively and appropriately communicate with other people, I would like you to let me know. Okay, now let me get out of here, and that is the end of the first section.